so we're going to have a conversation.
Let's try it out. We're going to try to rock some optimism.
That's right. It's pretty easy for us. We're usually pretty optimistic about
I think
stuff,
so too. I think the part of the goal of this is to show people a bit of a way to use these chairs. I've tried to simplify it down to like 3 steps, where it's sit down, invite someone, rock and talk about the problems, but with ideas and solutions for those problems.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about...
And then 3 would be to hashtag rocking optimism and hashtag Kingston happenings and hashtag into yellow. So those are the three steps. 1, 2, 3. Invite someone to sit down, have the conversation. Hopefully maybe even we can evolve it into a bit of a game, which we can test as well. And then 3, hashtag it so that we can share it, and these conversations end up on Kingston Happening and other places in social media.
And what are the hashtags again?
Hashtag rocking optimism, hashtag Kingston Happenings, hashtag into yellow.
Okay.
And I guess we'll also probably have hashtag happy spot, so we'll figure that out. But
hey,
hashtags
are easy.
Hashtag.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, we talk about optimism and stuff. I think part of the reason why people like you and I are optimistic about things is because we are so engaged with things. I think the more you're involved with different projects, the more it's easier to see solutions to things, and it's easier to see that there are people out there that do care about trying to make things better.
Yeah.
And there are people that do get engaged in projects. You just have to sometimes give them the right proposition.
It's funny you say it, because I have a lot of discussions about optimism in my life, because I work as an optimist, and one of the recent things that was posed to me was that optimism is bullshit, and that was by a spiritual person, and called me out in front of a lot of people, and I think part of that premise was a little bit that my optimism comes from a place of privilege, and I thought that was really interesting, because it's like, oh, you're white guys, of course you're optimistic. I was like, well, actually, you don't know that my optimism comes from suffering. Actually, it comes from a rough life, comes from rough youth, and what I saw were ways out. And absolutely, with some of that privilege, I had ways out, but there were plenty of things that could have held me down and could have kept me in great despair. And I feel like I see other people in the world who also overcome those things, and because they believe they can make it better, they do make it better.
Yeah.
And so I felt locally what I see in Kingston is so many people with this, like, either already here or moving here because they have this like feeling that we could do great things here. We could prevent some displacement. We could create kind of amazing community endeavors, and some of the infrastructure that's here already has such potential, and then these people have great ideas on what to do with it. And I think that's the part, because we are engaged, I feel like I'm seeing those kind of amazing humans with great intentions, and I'm hoping that projects like this will allow to kind of tap into the community to say, hey, it's not just the people that are out there active, there's people who are just doing their jobs day to day trying to make it.
Right.
They also have a point of view on the city, and they also think there's great things that could be done, and they also might have great ideas on how to solve some of the problems that we're faced, obstacles that we're faced.
Right. And hopefully there's enough people that are engaged now that they can give people that may not be the confidence that if they do get engaged, that good things will happen. And that's really the trick. I mean, if you really look at, really successful, whatever, companies, teams, individuals, or anything else, confidence is a huge factor. I mean, you can go out and, work your fingers to the bone. You're not really going to do that unless you think it's going to get you somewhere.
Totally.
So it's really about kind of giving people an outlook that says, you know what, there's something here if I really apply some effort, and I can make the community better, I can better myself or whatever. It doesn't matter what it is, but basically, there's that confidence factor. I think that's really important.
So then maybe as two guys who are involved, One is a fairly newbie. I'm on my year anniversary of living here. I'm super excited. August is my 1-year anniversary. And someone who's been here since the IBM days and...
long before that.
Yeah, really? Okay.
Well, actually, the same year IBM was built, when I was born.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're true bluer here.
You can't get more local than me.
So then with the two of us being a newbie that's involved in a well-established local, maybe we actually talk about what we see as problems or a problem in Midtown particularly. And the reason I've kind of focused on Midtown with this project is because I think it has had the least amount of resources poured into it in Kingston, at least from my perception, and that it has so much potential and so many assets here that could kind of be celebrated and applauded and lifted up. So maybe we focus on that if you're open to just focus on Midtown.
Absolutely.
And then we talk about some of the problems and also talk about some of the solutions, or a problem and a solution.
I mean, one of the things that I see all the time, and I think it's a real detriment, unfortunately, is with community projects, I don't see a lot of kids involved.
Mm-hmm.
And by kids, I mean older kids, teenagers, younger teenagers, kids that can get off out on their own and do some things. And I understand with some kids, they're not only going to school, but they're also working, part-time as they're going through school. But that can be, the time constraint can be tough. But I still think there's a lot of opportunity there to engage kids at points in time where they could be engaged. And I think that's something we really need to continue to work hard at and try to figure out how to work through the schools to do that and make it part of, just the normal thought process of, here's an opportunity for kids to get engaged and to learn more about what's going on. I know, I'd love to have more interns working with me with Kingston Happenings. There's many different aspects of that, whether somebody thinks they want to become a photographer, I will publish photo essays. If they want to be a writer, there's a million things to write about. There's no shortage of stories, to write about that are positive things about the local area that I'd be more than happy to publish. And
that's awesome. I mean, this resonates with me as a problem, and so maybe we identify the problem and say what we think the problem is a lack of, not a lack of, maybe not clear communication of some of the opportunities that are available for teens, we'll say high school age, and particularly in Midtown. So when I first started this community project, not just this Rocking Optimism, but just working with the International Optimism Yellow and Optimism Shop and Happy Spot, the first real project that kind of got traction and that I think it took a week from concept to execution was 100 students making 100 yellow flowers, and that project is still pollinating around Midtown and launched many other projects like this one since. And that came from me hearing from Laura Giordano that she's working with a work-study program of high school students at Kingston High that are called Pop-Up Gallery Group, and they go around and they put shows of alumni's work from Kingston into empty spaces in Kingston. And my jaw dropped. I was like, what? This is happening in Kingston? I don't even think this is happening in New York City, So I was just so blown away by that, and I was like, we have to collaborate. And Laura and I worked right away, and she included a handful of high school instructors and departments, and we worked with a 70-year-old woodworker locally who cut 100 of these yellow flowers, or yellow circles out. The pub group painted them yellow. Then we worked with the students and generated all these pieces, and then on the back they wrote their ideas for how to make Midtown brighter. And the ideas, gutted me. Some were whimsical and funny, some were like, oh, put a roof on Dietz Stadium, and then others were really practical, help remove some of the stigma of mental health discussion so that we feel safe to go get help when we need it. This is a tough
pretty heavy from a teenager.
Yeah, and on the back of that same flower, that idea, they also said, I also think Midtown could use a quality slushy establishment. And I'm like, I agree. So I agree with both of those things. But overarching, what I saw was people saying, just love to see some respect to what Midtown is and some of the history that's here, and more art to celebrate it. And that's where the next series came from, the project. So for me, hearing that problem, I think the solution to that problem of how do we show some of the opportunities as well as create more is listening to youth talk about what they think they're missing, and feeling empowered enough to be heard, that it's not just some solution that's created in an office somewhere and like, oh, here, it worked in that city, so let's do it here.
Yeah, templates never work.
So I hope this project itself could be part of that solution. And it really lights me up when I hear you, I think you mentioned here too, but also in previous conversations, that you see Kingston Happening as a platform for participation, and that absolutely the community could start generating content. So how do we engage with teenage community to generate content? So whether it's on chairs or whether it's a story that they've got or something that's happening and they actually make the story and they have a place to put it, I think that's a pretty cool opportunity.
And I'm just thinking, we're sitting here on Broadway. While the time we've been sitting here, I've probably seen 70 or 80 kids go up the street. I don't know if they weren't walking too fast.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a resource to me. That not to nail them down to anything, but even just to talk to them.
Yeah.
That maybe we ought to just barricade the sidewalk slightly.
Yeah.
And corral some of these guys and just sort of encourage them to kind of have this kind of discussion a little bit more.
Absolutely. I think what's really amazed me with the teen community. So I get to see a lot of people walking up down Broadway these days, and one of the things that makes me optimistic is that the teens here, I rarely see looking down. Almost everybody else is looking down. The teens seem to be looking up, and that might be just as metaphoric as you can be, but and yet when I've done projects, I have seen the negativity, but that's just because it's cool to be kind of negative at that age. And so I think when you create a space or a project that could offer a place where it's cool to show your other side, cool to be optimistic, and that you feel that you could have a little power in that, and that like, oh, maybe my idea would be chosen, that's the part where how do you elevate it and really empower. That's what we learned from the, Laura Johndonnell spoke to this too, that with that pollination project with the 100 Yellow Flowers, it was such a cycle, and that the students knew that they were, the kind of query to the students who wanted to participate or who ended up participating was, we're creating a project to brighten Midtown, and one of your ideas would be selected to be the next project. And so they knew that what they were making was going to beautify the neighborhood, was going to be in a surprise location to be installed, these 100 Yellow Flowers to brighten the neighborhood. So they already knew that they were participating, and that was already making an effect. But then also there was this empowerment of their voice got to be heard. They knew that we'd show that project to the mayor and show their ideas, and then one of the ideas would be the premise for another project. So it was like a full cycle of...
Yeah. Has anything happened with that input yet?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So really what we did is the students who worked on the project and I and Laura Johndonnell, we met with the mayor. He saw all of the lists of ideas, and one of the ideas on there was like so many of the things on that list were actually the city was already working on. And really what was interesting was just the city hall being across the street from the high school, such an amazing,
it's like
beautiful dynamic.
Well,
maybe Grand Canyon, but I think there's this beauty that they are across from each other, and that it's just about how to get that dialogue. So
it seems like there ought to be some connection there, but like I said, And there is. I mean, I shouldn't make it sound like there's nothing going on, you know, that the kids aren't engaged in anything going on in the community or anything that have to do with city programs. But there's just so much more opportunity there to leverage.
I think the mayor agreed with that on his, he didn't not even agree, I think he also knew that because the next month, I love this, the next month, he came and he spoke at the high school and shared with groups of students how many of the ideas that had been listed are in development. And I think that was just purely opening up a dialogue, you know. And then as an artist, I looked at the list and also chose kind of popular themes. And one of the most popular themes was more color and more art in Midtown. So that's where, obviously that's the space I work in anyways. It really kind of enabled me or empowered me because I was making some assumptions. I saw kind of a gray area that didn't have a lot of public art, and that I was worried that maybe the art that was going to be coming into this area was just kind of cool muralists who live in a different city and don't have a connection to what the issues are here or the topics that are relevant. I've heard one of the murals that resonated the most with the community here was for youth who lost their lives in a car accident, and it was a memorial mural to them, and that really touched the community and really felt like their story was part of the fabric of the community, not just kind of lost in, you know, local folklore or something. And so I think that's the kind of art that it empowered me to say, all right, that's the kind of art I want to help generate. So we're making works now that very much involve the community. So just like the 100 students, we try to involve other communities of people. So Kingston Police Department, we're also working with just individuals who want to help make a difference. So they help adopt a Happy Spot project and then see it to fruition by working with the community. So it really, that pollination project, that first 100 students, has started the series of projects we've done since.
Interesting. Yeah, it's just, it's like every aspect of communication. There's really no one way to do it, and we really need to just get out and get in front of these kids somehow. You know, like you've done with the pollination project. I mean, it's got to be. We need to probably come up with more ideas like that to get them more acclimated to.
I feel like we've already got one positive solution, and we're literally putting it into motion. And one of that is to just create a space for those conversations to be heard, and to feel empowered enough that if you want to share the dialogue you had on these, you can hashtag it, and it has a place to live that others can hear, and that maybe either me as an artist, I might say, I love that idea, I'll go out and work with community to develop it, or maybe someone at City Hall hears it, or maybe just another friend or colleague or whatever says, I love that idea too, let's do that project, let's make that.
And maybe to jumpstart this too with kids, is maybe to go back through the kids who participated in the pollination project and encourage them to maybe get started. You know, there's already a bit of a dialogue, a little bit of trust there. They kind of know what's going on. You know, and maybe that's a place to start and just get a few of them going. Because with kids, you know, I think once something starts to catch on, it'll take off. And I think that's probably the most interesting input we'll get. It'll be from youngsters.
Great.
Let's do that.
I'm in.
All right, sounds good.
First trial. Let's see where this goes.
Feel free to comment. This will be on the Kingston Happenings website. There will be an area where you can post comments, and let's have a dialogue about what you've heard and what your ideas are as well. Thank you very much.